This is a video review of Tobot Adventure Z from the Korean TV show by Young Toys, Tobots. Now, this guy, as far as I can tell from what little I've seen of the show, and I have not seen the show subbed or dubbed, from what little I've seen of the TV show, from what I've seen of the promotional material, and from what I've seen of the toys, including what I own, this is an upgraded version of another figure called Tobot Z. What happened is that the show started with Tobot X, Y, and Z, and they all got upgraded forms. There's Tobot Evolution X, Evolution Y, and Adventure Z. Why Z got called Adventure instead of Evolution, I don't know. I do have Evolution X and Y. I will be showing them. I also have Y, not X or Z normal yet, but when I get those, I'll show them too. Now, this figure, I've done about 6 takes trying to review this guy, and the reason why is because I really love this figure. It's as far as the single figures that are not part of a combiner like Triton or Quadrant, and those were excellent, by the way. As far as just the single figures, this one is my favorite, but it also has a lot wrong with it. It has a lot wrong with it, and so in the previous attempts reviewing this guy, I started explaining the ways that you get around the problems that this guy has, or most of them. There's one that you can't get around, really. And I just went on this 10-minute diatribe explaining how to get all the subtle details of getting around the problems that this guy has, and it sounded terrible. Just really terrible. Like, this is the worst toy ever that you had to learn so many tiny little itty-bitty tidbits just to pose the guy. But the thing is, it really isn't as bad as I'm going to make it sound. I'm going to try and not go quite so long explaining it either. But just 10 minutes in hand and you'll basically understand how this guy works. That's all it takes to move past the problems that he has. So anyway, I've talked about that long enough. Here's a QR code if you want to see it. The vehicle mode, I really like it. It's big and chunky. Here is from Transformers 4, Voyager Class Hound. He's not a small figure, but he's not super big either, but he is dwarfed by this guy. So, it's a really nice car. I really like it. It's big, chunky. It doesn't moosh in my hands. It's a great car, but it does have one problem, and this is the one problem that you can't really get around. It doesn't really roll, he just slides. And that right there, I could see being a deal breaker for some of you guys. It almost was for me, but he does enough with how cool his transformation is and how cool his robot mode looks, and with once you get around some of his weird posability issues, how well he can pose compared to some of the other Tobots figures. So, transform this guy. Really cool. You start by pulling the doors out, and they're spring-loaded, so you have to keep them held out with your fingers. Then you'll pop the front out, and you have to keep them held out to get them around the side view mirrors. And then you want to push the head up like that. Then you'll fold the backs of the doors in like this to form these kind of missile pods on his shoulders. Next, what you will do is you will take his legs, you'll untab them from the top of the car right here, and then you're going to take his pelvis and bring it forward. Not his legs like this, but his pelvis and bring it forward like that. And you don't quite want to take it all the way, but most of the way is good enough. Then you will pop this down like this. Then you'll pop this back like this. And once that's popped back, you have enough room to then clip this into place. And then after that, you will, because what will happen is if you can take this further than what will be allowed for this. So that's why you don't want to take this all the way forward. I'm going to pop this in and then bring it forward. Now, what's really cool about this transformation is the way that the arms work. You want to pop them out here like this, and then they will wrap around, and then they will peg into the wheels right here. There are 2 little bits right there that are spring-loaded, and then this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, an octagon. And so it is every 45 degrees, it will ratchet once it's put in there, but it's not ratcheted right now. So what we want to do is you want to pop this back like this, bring this over the wheel, and then inject that mushroom cap into the wheel, and then you have, it doesn't click very well, unlike some of the other ratchets, but it is a fairly strong ratchet in there, and I just love the way that works. It's like a It's like a delivery system for the same kind of connection system that a lot of Power Rangers figures use for their arms. And I just think that's a brilliant way to transform the arms to give them a nice ratchet, which a ratchet's going to be necessary on a figure this size because even though the arms aren't particularly load-bearing, they're still big and heavy. So anyway, to finish off the transformation, we're going to bring these down. We're going to split the legs, bring out the toes, and then we're going to take these and fold them down like that. And I'll talk about these as heels later because this is where the problems I talked about at the very beginning of the video, this is where they come in. This is where they come in. So anyway, this is Tobot Adventure Z in robot mode, and he is huge. He looks awesome, and except for kibble that would make him look cool, like these missile pylons on his shoulders or these shoulder pads back here, he has no kibble at all. He is one of the cleanest transforming robots I have seen in a long time. And he looks amazing. Like, I love the way his helmet looks. Like, he's Tobot Z, and his helmet is the letter Z. But it's not cheesy or tacky or anything. It looks cool. It's a cool-looking helmet. And then the shoulder pylons and just how big he is. Like, let me give you another size comparison. This is Deluxe Drift from Transformers 4. Just this guy's thigh right here is about as big as Drift's entire torso. This guy is massive. His entire chest, just the chest alone, is bigger than this guy. And so that's one of the reasons why I like not just this guy, but Tobots in general, is that the toys are really big, and I like big toys. So for Poseability in this mode, you need to watch out for this thing because it will bump into that, but the arms go around 360, and that actually was never a problem for me before I did a review on this, so I think naturally you'll probably tend to not have any problem with that little tab. So the arms go around 360, they'll go in and out, they'll bend to 90 degrees, and they'll rotate above the elbow like that. And so his arms are fully posable, which is a rarity in Tobots. So they're fully posable in what you expect from the Transformers figure. The only limitation to them is that sometimes the detents on the ratchets are not quite where you might want them to be, but that's it. Otherwise, they're great arms. His head is on a ball joint. It goes left and right, looks up and down. They can't go all the way 360 because he has this bit of a skirt on the back of his head that will grind against the hinge right there. So that's his upper body. He has this joint right here, which would not be useful except for the problems that he has. So this joint right here is the reason why the toy works. If the toy did not have this joint, he really wouldn't be that great. Now, the problem with this figure is that these are his heels. They're not a flat instep, so if he uses these as his heels, he's not going to balance very well. So, excuse me. I'm having really bad allergies lately. The problem with these is that if you have these down, you're not going to get any dynamic poses out of this guy at all because he can't pose on these very well, except in a see what I mean? Except in a static pose, he cannot stand very well on these. So to get any kind of static poses, you need to have these out to the side. The problem with that is, well, now, well, actually, you can adjust for that by pulling these forward, but he's going to rock on those because these go down further than his what is acting as his heel or his toe. So there's a problem there. You can get around that a little bit by popping these out like this. But then he's starting to look down a little bit, and he's so big, I know I'm trying to keep him on camera, so you have to pop him back like this. But then that makes it so he's kind of back heavy. So what we need to do is take this down 2 more, and then take the knee back 1. And then that's the default standing position for this guy if you don't want to have these as the heels. And he stands very well like this. He's not overbalanced or anything, he's just right. But the thing is, you have to learn that. And it only takes about 10 minutes to learn that, but learning that is kind of obnoxious because you can't just plop him down if you don't want to use these as the heels. And really, these things as heels is a terrible idea. I don't know why Tobots thought it was a good idea, except that it does look cool. So that's where the problems with this guy come in, is that his feet are really weird. And if if you did not have this joint to make up for some of the weirdness you have to do with the different ratchets, get him to balance in different poses, you really could not have any kind of dynamic poses. So let me show you an example. Let me try and get him into a dynamic pose. Let's see. Okay, so dynamic pose, but he's kind of looking down. Yes, you can adjust it elsewhere or some other way, but no matter what, it's going to be hard to make it so that he's as stable as he is in this pose without him looking down. You're going to get some wobble if he's not kind of like this, but he's looking down. If you want him to look up, suddenly you have this, and that makes it all better. So you can get him into a cool pose and then fix it so that it does work. That's why this guy works. Like I said earlier, I went on to a 10-minute diatribe about how to make it work. It's really just about experimentation, then kind of learning the figure and how far all the joints go and how the ratchet detents work. There is a bit of learning you need to do for this figure, and if that disgusts you, I entirely get it. But if you have some patience and you're willing to give this figure a shot, this is really one of the shining stars of Tobot, because, well, most of the other Tobot figures can't do dynamic poses. This guy can. And but he has an awesome transformation, the awesome vehicle mode, and then the cool looking robot mode on top of it. So that's why I'm willing to forgive the weirdness of his feet and then his inability to roll. That, if he did not have everything else that makes him as awesome as he is, I would not have forgiven those two faults. Now, I have not talking about his gun yet, and his gun is actually kind of cool. Now, a lot of Transformers or Power Rangers or anything like that, they would use missiles. This guy does not use missiles. This is a rubber band gun. You take the rubber band, you put it onto this little hook back there, that little gray hook, you bring it forward, and you take it over this. And then what happens is that you will press this in, which will retract that hook, and then it shoots the rubber band. And what I love about this is that if you lose all the rubber bands, and you get a ton of these, if you lose them all, you can replace them because they're just rubber bands. They're not unique missiles that if you lose them, you're never going to find something that fits just right again. They're just rubber bands. And on top of that, it's also a cool looking gun. Fits into his hand very nicely. And it really makes a lot of his poses look even better. So yeah, this is a Tobot Adventure Z. If anything about this is distasteful to you, I completely understand it. But to me, at least if you have similar tastes to me, which is kind of prerequisite for all my recommendations anyway, this is a must-buy for Tobot. I get why it may not be for you, but if I had not already bought this guy, I would buy him again. There's some Tobots I might not have bought again, like Tobot R and Tobot Y, for example, aren't that great. I'll tell you why when I get to them, but this guy is good. And I know I'm starting to become a broken record at this point, so I'll wrap this up. Part of the reason why is because I was trying to tell you this guy was good without overhyping him and without making it look like I'm being kind to his weaknesses, because his flaws really are kind of bad. You just learn to get around them and then you're okay. So anyway, Tobot Adventure Z. I really like him. I hope you do too. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. I review Transformers, Tobots, Power Rangers, Digimon, lots of stuff like that. I've got some links in the video description. Check them out, Facebook and playlists. Thank you for watching.